Get started. So for those that were not able to hear me, I apologize for that, for the audio issue, and sorry about that. We'll get started with our lesson for today. So I'm going to start with some math, and then midway we'll do some puzzle, and then we'll do some more math, and then we'll finish with sciences. So I always like to start simple. So we'll start with something here, and this right here is going to test your understanding of area and perimeter. So we're going to see how you answer this question. So we have a rectangular lot that measures 125 feet by 185 feet that is completely fenced. What is the length in feet of the fence? I want you to remember that anyone can answer any question here. You don't have to be a specific grade. So I did not put any grade really because I want you to feel free to answer any question. So we're looking for a rectangular lot that measures 125 feet by 185 feet, and that is completely fenced. What is the length in feet of the fence? I'll give you a few moments to try to answer this question, and then we'll do it together. Okay, let's go ahead. I don't see a response yet, and so we'll go ahead and get started with this question, and then I'm sure as people get in and get familiar with what we're doing, you'll be able to participate. So we're looking for, we have a rectangular lot, so let's draw a rectangle, and it measures 125 feet by 185 feet, and we're saying that the lot is completely fenced. What is the length in feet of the fence? So the way you want to look at that is, if it's completely fenced, it's going to look like this. It's going to have the same dimensions as the lot. So when you're looking at here, it's asking you for the length of the fence. So that simply means we're looking for the perimeter. And your perimeter is the path around an object. So the path around an object, or you can say the length of all the sides of an object. So in this case, we're going to just, perimeter is going to be 2 multiplied by length plus width. Or you could just add all the sides. You could make this 185 here and 125, and then you can add them up. But this I find to be a lot easier to do. So let's go ahead and add 125 and 185. 0, bring 1 up here, 1, 3. So we multiply 2 by 310, which is going to give you 620. Are there any questions on this topic? So when you see what is the length of this is actually quite common on both the SAT and the ACT. And what they're trying to do is make sure that you understand what the perimeter means. And if it's a circular object or a circle, it would say the circumference. It would also use the length though, but you just have to remember that in that case, they're referring to the circumference. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them on the chat and I'll get to them for sure. Okay, so now we have, if x is a real number such that x cubed is equal to 729, then x squared plus the square root of x is equal to what number? So x cubed is equal to 729. We want to find out the value of x squared plus the square root of x. Lots of different ways to look at this actually. I would like to see how you all think about this question and how you respond. So x cubed is equal to 729. So that simply means that x multiplied by x equal to 729. So we need to find out the value of x. That's one way. That's the way I prefer to go. I'm sure there are lots of other ways to do it, but that's the way that I think is you would have a lower chance of making a mistake. Okay, let's go ahead and attempt this together. So this is 729 and we're going to, so this is 729 and we want to find out the number that when you cube that number you get to 729. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to have 3. I'm going to create a factor tree here so that I can come up with the number that when you cube it, you get to 729. So if I divide 729 by 3, I get 243. If I divide 243 by 3, I'm going to get 81. If I divide 81 by 3, I'm going to get 27. 27. And then 27 is going to be 3 multiplied by 9. And then 9 is going to be 3 multiplied by 3. So let's count the number of 3's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have 729 is 3 multiplied by 3. You have it 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're looking for the cube root. So what we're going to do here now is this. The cube root of 729 is going to be the same as the cube root of 3 multiplied by 3. And then you have 6 of them. And when you have this situation, what you're going to do is the cube root simply means that we're going to have groups of 3. So we have a group of 3 here. We have 3 3's here. So we're going to get one number out of it to represent that group. And then over here, we're going to get one number out to represent the group, and we can multiply. So the square root of 729 is going to be 3 multiplied by 3, which is equal to 9. So now we have x is equal to 9, and then you can use that to solve this right here. So if x equal to 9, x squared plus the square root of x is equal to 9 squared plus the square root of 9. 9 squared is 81. Square root of 9 is 3. So you're going to get 84. So this is how you'd answer this type of question. Do you have any questions? Any thoughts? All right. Thank you for answering. 84 is our answer. So if you have any questions or you have a different take on this type of question, let me know. I'm always here to learn from you as well. All right, let's go to the next question. What is the slope-intercept form of 6x minus 2y minus 4 equal to 0? What is the slope-intercept form of 6x minus 2y minus 4 equal to 0? Remember here, when you have slope-intercept form, it's simply this, y equal to mx plus b. That is your slope-intercept form. M is your slope and b is your intercept. And it's actually your y-intercept. So we're looking for the slope-intercept form. If you have any questions about what we're doing, please feel free to ask, and I'll be glad to help you with that. I'll be glad to answer any question you may have. Once we finish this, we're going to do some science reasoning. When we finish this math portion, we'll do some science, and if we have some more time after, we'll do some more math. All right, so let's go ahead and answer this question. So our goal here is to rewrite this equation in the form y equal to mx plus b. One way you can actually also tell, one of the good things about this test is if you look at the answers, you can get an idea of what they're asking you to do. So you can see all the answers are in that form, in the form y equal to mx plus b. So now what we're going to do is rewrite this. So we're going to make sure that we have y on the left-hand side and all the other terms on the right-hand side. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move the y off because it's equal to, it doesn't matter how you go about it. So I'm going to add 2y to both sides of this equation. So I have 6x minus 4 equal to 2y. And then what I'm going to do now is divide both sides by 2 because I need to make sure that I have the coefficient of y has to be 1. So I'm going to divide by the number to the left. So we're going to now have 6x minus 4 over 2. What we can do to actually divide this is to factor the numerator here. So we're going to have 2 as a common factor here, greatest common factor, and you have 3x minus 2 over 2 equal to y, and then you can cancel this out, and then you have y equal to 3x minus 2. Y equal to 3x minus 2, and that's going to give you h. There's another way you could have done that. I just think it will take longer. One of the important things to remember when you're writing your SAT or ACT is find the fastest way to solve problems so you do not lose time. It's very easy to get so involved in a question and then you lose all the time for other questions. So when you have questions like this, look for any question that you come across on this test, look for the simplest and the fastest way to answer the question. All right, so I have a puzzle after this. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, and I'll get to them, and I'll let you know when I can answer them. So here's our first puzzle. I wanted to do something that was more logical than very math driven in terms of the puzzles today. The puzzles today are not too complicated. So they're more logical reasoning because of the SAT and the ACT. So if 3 cats can catch 3 bunnies in 3 minutes, how long will it take 100 cats to catch 100 bunnies? Three cats can catch 3 bunnies in 3 minutes. Okay, Daisy, we'll do one more question like that after we get through this puzzle. So we have 3 cats can catch 3 bunnies in 3 minutes. How long will it take 100 cats to catch 100 bunnies? Anyone have an idea? There's really no math to it, but I'm sure some of us are probably doing some math, and it's probably going to get complicated if you do the math. But think about it this way. If 3 cats can catch 3 bunnies in 3 minutes, so how long will it take 1 cat to catch 1 bunny? How long will a cat take to catch 1 bunny? All right. What's going on today? I'm not seeing a lot of participation. 100 minutes. Okay, that's one approach. Okay. Thank you for responding. That's good. I always like students responding. So it's 3 cats, 3 bunnies in 3 minutes. So one cat actually, remember that they are working on their own. They're not working together. So they're working on their own. So a cat is catching a bunny in 3 minutes. 3 cats will catch 3 bunnies in 3 minutes. And so therefore, 100 cats will catch 100 bunnies in 3 minutes because it takes the same time for 1 cat to catch a bunny. So that's just the logic behind it. It's like saying if I'm trying to boil some eggs, and if I can boil 5 eggs in 15 minutes, how long will it take me to boil 10 eggs? If they're in the same pot, it's still 15 minutes. You're not going to boil it for longer, for 30 minutes because it's 10 eggs. So that's the idea. So it's 3 minutes. The answer here is 3 minutes. It's a logical reasoning question. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, because I have a request to solve some more questions like the previous one about writing equations in slope-intercept form, I am going to attempt to do that. Give me a second. Let me pull up a page. Okay, so the question here, I'm going to come up with a question. Write the equation 5x plus 4y minus 3 equal to 0 in slope-intercept form. So we're going to write the equation 5x plus 4y minus 3 in slope-intercept form. So what I'm going to do here is, you have to always remember that you're writing it in the form y equal to mx plus b. So this is your end goal. You have to have just y. So I have 5x plus 4y minus 3 equal to 0. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to add 3 to both sides first. So 5x plus 4y equal to 3. Then I'll subtract 5x from both sides. So I have 4y equal to negative 5x plus 3. And then we can now divide both sides by 4. We divide both sides by 4. So y is equal to, remember when you divide a fraction by 4, you're dividing every term in that fraction by 4. So it's going to be negative 5 over 4x plus 3 over 4. So in this case, you may be asked to find the slope and the y-intercept. Your slope is going to be negative 5 over 4. Your y-intercept is going to be 3 over 4. So that's what this equation is. Does this help? Does this help you with your understanding? I didn't add on, but it just depends on the way the question is written. In that last question, let me go back to it so I can explain a little bit better for you. So in this question here, the reason why I did that is because I have a negative 2y here. So if I just add 2y, it gets it out of here and just moves it to this right-hand side. So that way I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about the others. The other way you could have done this is, which will take longer, and that's why I didn't do it this way. But if I have 6x minus 2y minus 4 equal to 0, I could have added 4 to both sides first. So it's going to give me 6x minus 2y equal to 4. Then I subtract 6x from both sides. So I now have minus 2y is equal to negative 6x plus 4. And then I have to divide everything by negative 2. And then now we have y equal to 3x minus 2. So you can see that regardless of how you go about it, I just found the easiest way to do it. And how you're probably thinking, how do I find easy ways? Just keep practicing. Just take a few questions like this, walk through them. You will come up with a method that would work for you and make you faster. I could have done this in about the same time as this on my own, but since I'm trying to show you the fastest way to do it, I decided to do it the other way. Is it a bit clearer to you? Okay, well, I'll try to look, if we have some more time, we'll do a few more at the end, but I want to get to some science, and then we'll get to, when we have some time at the end, we'll be able to do maybe 1 or 2 more examples like this. So I want to remind you all that during this summer, like I said at the beginning of this session, during this summer, we're going to be offering some customized programs for math, science, and English. We're going to be doing ACT and SAT as well. And this is going to be, we're going to offer a program where students that are in the same group learn together. So if you're in 5th grade, you will learn with only 5th graders. If you're in 6th grade, you will learn with 6th graders. And if you want science or math, you're going to learn with students that have the same interests. So it's not going to be like what we have now, where we have 8th graders and some college students. We're going to have students in the same grade and learning the same thing, so we can focus on helping you get caught up from where you may have left off in the previous semester, and also prepare you for your next school year. So if you're interested, I encourage you to join us. If you're interested, reach out to us, and we'll be glad to help you, give you some more information on how to get signed up, and dates and times and all of that good stuff. So it's going to be from June 8th to July 31st. I'm actually looking forward to this program, and everything will be done online through Zoom, and I think it'll be a good time. Okay, so we're going to do some science now. On the SAT and on the ACT, you actually have a science component to both exams. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at this example. There are 5 questions based on this graph or this table, and we're going to use that to explain to you how to read this type of questions. This is actually an old ACT exam, and this actually does show up also in the SAT, but in a different flavor, but very similar. So I want you to spend probably about a minute or so to read the graph and the table, and try to understand what the table is about, and then we can answer some questions together. So a solute is any substance that is dissolved in another substance, which is called a solvent. So these are important things to note. A student tested the solubility, which is the measure of how much solute will dissolve into a solvent, another important word there, of 6 different substances. The solubility of a substance at a given temperature is defined as the concentration of the dissolved solute that is in equilibrium with the solvent. Table 1 represents the concentration of dissolved substances in 100 grams of water at various temperatures. The concentrations are expressed in grams of solute per 100 grams of water. And so that's what this table, this is just an explanation of what the data in this table represents. So we're going to answer, are you all done reading the science passage? Do you understand it? So here we're looking at, this table is talking about solutes and solvents, and we're looking at the concentration of a solute in 100 grams of water and at different temperatures. So I'll give you some time to just take a stab at it and let's see what you come up with. The first question here is, according to table 1, the concentrations of which of the following substances varies the least with temperature? Which of these substances varies the least with temperature? So just look at the table and see if you can come up with any of these substances. We notice here that you have 4 choices, so you don't have to look at the other 2 because you only have 4 choices. This is a very typical type of ACT science question, and in the ACT you have 3 types of science questions. This is what we call the type 1. So you have a table and you have to just interpret the table and answer questions based on that table. So this is very common in the ACT. So does anyone have an idea of what this answer would be? The concentrations of which of the following substances varies the least with temperature? So the hint here, let me give you a hint as you're looking at it. You're looking for which of these does not change that much as the temperature changes. That's all. Which of these substances does not change a whole lot as the temperature changes? All right. Okay, Adesi is answering. That's good. So let's look at this answer here. So we have HCl. Let's look at HCl. We have here, as the temperature increases, you can see there's a lot of change in temperature here. And with the important thing for you to remember is that in the science, you don't need a calculator. So if you're having to calculate, you're doing too much. So you can just look at it and see that, okay, I can see like there's a difference in the temperatures in the concentration of the solute as the temperature increases. So that rules this out. Then let's look at NH3. NH3, we have 90 to 55. You can already see that there are big changes, so that rules this out. Now let's look at NaCl. So we have 37, 37, 38, 38, 39, 40. So there's really not that much change happening. So we're going to put an asterisk here just to make sure that that's where we think we're going. And then we look at KCl. You can see here that we have increases that are more significant or larger than what's happening with NaCl. So this is going to be your answer to the question. So good job, Anastasia and Adese. Good job. Does anyone have any questions? Just remember that if you have any questions as we proceed, just ask, and then I'll be able to go back. I will be willing to go back and answer them for you. So this is the same table is the same question. I just had to, I'm repeating the table so that for each question, so you can have, you can see them while you're answering the questions. So here we have the graph below represents the relationship between concentration and temperature for which of the following substances. So you're going to use the table as your reference to see which of these substances matches the graph. Let's see, what do we have here? Which of these best represents the relationship between concentration and temperature for which of the following substances? So we're going to, the hint here is just look at each of the substances in the answers and then see which one of them really is, which of them more closely matches what's in the graph. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's look at the graph and look at the options. The good thing with this test is that they give you some ideas of what possible options to explore. So if you look at F right here, let's start with F. HCl. So let's look at HCl. What happens at HCl? At 0 is about 83. So I can see that, okay, that's a good. And then at 20, you see that's 72. So you can see that it's sliding down. And then at 100, what do you have for HCl? You have about 43. So I can see that that's a potential answer. Okay, Adeze, wonderful. Anastasia, wonderful. So HCl is a potential answer. Then we look at NaNO3, which is this one right here. At 0, you have 72, which you could say, okay, maybe that's close enough. But at 20, you have 86, so it should go up. So that is not going to work. NaCl, you have 37, 37. So you can see here that nothing really changes. So you should have more of a straight line. So this isn't going to work. And then KCl, you have 28. You have an increase, but this shows a decrease. So this isn't going to work. So this is your answer. What I'm doing with you is I'm showing you a method that I like to introduce to my students is the process of elimination. So what your goal is using this method is to find a way to eliminate bad answers so you end up with the right answer. And that process never fails. If you can learn to use that process for your SAT, ACT, and even when you get past college and you're trying to become a graduate student, your GRE, all of this stuff will work. All right, good job so far. So now this is our next question. So the data shown in table 1 support the conclusion that for a given substance, as the temperature of the water increases, the amount of solute that can be dissolved, and these are your options. Does it increase all the time? When you say increase only, it means that for every single substance, you should have an increase. When you say decrease only, it means that for every single substance, I want you to remember that when you select an answer, it must be true for every single part of the graph or of the table. It must be true all the time. So does it decrease only? Does it vary and has a trend depending on the substance? Or does it vary but no specific or no particular trend? So those are the options that you have. Okay, so I see D as an answer. All right. I'll wait for one more response and then we'll get going with this one. So here we're asking, what is the specific behavior of this table? So what conclusion can we arrive at? What conclusion can we come to based on based on the data in the table? So let's look at the options that we have. The first one says it increases only. Let's see if that's true. I can see an increase here. I can see an increase here, but there's a decrease here, so that doesn't work. And that also means decreases only doesn't work. Now we're going to look at the next C. It says varies, but there is a trend depending on the substance. What this means is that it may increase or decrease, but for each of these substances, they have a specific way that things are going. So if you look at KCl, for example, you can see that as your temperature increases, your concentration also increases. You look at NaNO3, as your temperature increases, your concentration generally increases. Now you look at HCl, as your temperature increases, what happens? It decreases in the concentration, and then you do that for each of the different substances in this table, and you can see that for each of these substances, if there's an increase, there's a consistent increase. It may not increase by the same number of value, but you can see a consistent increase. When you look at the decrease, there is a consistent decrease. It may not decrease exactly the same way, but if you follow, you can see that it's actually decreasing consistently. So what that means is that we have a variation in behavior, but the trend actually depends on the substance. That's the way you want to answer this type of question. There is a variation in behavior, but each substance behaves differently. And in its behavior, it's consistent in whatever behavior it exhibits. So that's why the answer is C. The reason why I didn't bother with D is that D says it varies, but there's no particular trend, and that is not true. Because when you see questions where it says there's no particular trend, what that means is that in some instances on the same substance, you can have an increase and a decrease. That's what it means by no particular trend. If you have a consistent increase, that's a trend. If you have a consistent decrease, that's another trend. So that's what you want to look out for when you're answering a question like this. Just take note, some of the things I'm telling you they are the tricks that you have to understand, the strategies that you have to understand to be able to do well in this type of tests. SAT, ACT, the strategies are similar. All right, next question. So according to the table, HCl will most likely have which of the following concentrations at 70 degrees Celsius? HCl will most likely have which of the following concentrations at 70 degrees Celsius? Okay, let me give you a few more moments to attempt this. Based on this table, HCl would most likely have which of the following concentrations at 70 degrees Celsius? So we're looking at HCl, which is right here. So that's the column that we're going to pay attention to. So I see J. Okay. Okay, good attempt. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at it. HCl at 70 degrees. So 70 degrees is going to be midway between 60 and 80. So 70 is going to be right here. So when you look at this, you're looking for a number that is between 48 and 55. So now that you know what that number is, and be sure to know that it's going to be somewhere in the middle of 48 and 55. So we're going to look at, so I would say roughly about 50 or 51 is going to be where your number would be. So let's look at our answers, and we can see here 48.5 will not work because it's too close to 80. So it's going to be maybe a higher 70, probably 78 or so. But now we have 51.5. You can see that that's almost in the middle of 55 and 48. So that's how you would answer a question like this. I'm just going to say again, these are very common type of questions. Very common. Anastasia, great job. They're very common. So I want you to understand these techniques so that when you have to take this test, you will not have any problems with these questions. And then the last one for this passage. So it's where a scientist wants to dissolve at least 50 grams of NH4Cl in 100 grams of water in order for the solution to be a proper concentration for use in an experiment. A reasonable minimum temperature for the solution would be, so we're looking at NH4Cl, so this is all we care about, that column. So we have 50 grams of NHCl, so that's your concentration, 50 grams of NH4Cl in 100 grams of water. So that's going to be your concentration. We want to find out under what temperature can we get 50 grams of NH4Cl in 100 grams of water. All right. Don't forget, during this summer, we're going to be doing a lot of this type of questions in our classes. We're going to have our SAT, ACT class. It's going to be a group class. We like the group sessions because it allows you all to participate, learn from each other, and also gives me an opportunity to learn from you and to learn more about the way that you look at problems. But most importantly, for us to learn together as a group and make sure that you're ready for the SAT. I'm seeing that the SAT may be kicking off somewhere between September and December. I don't think I don't think it's solid yet, but it's going to be happening in the next school year. So this is an opportunity for you to prepare without the pressure of knowing that thinking you have to get it done so quickly. Because without the COVID, you would have had to prepare for an SAT exam, and I believe ACT in June, August, and September, but you don't have that pressure right now. So our program is for you to get an opportunity to just prepare at your own pace. Okay, so do we have an answer? So what you need to do, simple hint for you here is look at the column with NH4Cl. And just take an estimate, look at 50 grams, we're looking for 50. So here you're looking for where 50 would fall in. So just look around here and ask yourself, for each of these temperatures, could you get about 50? Can you get about 50 grams per 100 grams of H2 or 100 grams of water? So that's all you're going to look for. So we're looking in this column right here, this column here, and we're going to see where 50 will best fit. Okay, I'll give you like maybe about 30 more seconds, and then I'll show you exactly what to do. So I have C, okay, good. Thank you for attempting. So 35. So one thing I want you to also see as you're answering the question is, you look at NH4Cl, pay attention that as the temperature increases, what's happening to the concentration, it's also increasing. As the temperature increases, so that means that if you want 50, you cannot have 50 before 40 degrees because 50 is greater than 46. So you can't have it anywhere before 40 degrees. So it's going to be a temperature above 40 degrees. And then just looking at your answer of a temperature has to be above 40 degrees to get 50 grams of NH4Cl, then you look in your answer choices and look for the one that is above 40 degrees. So you're saying subtract 11. That is true, but I want you to remember you are not expected to do any math, really. Almost minimal. You shouldn't have to even, do any kind of mathematical calculation in this type of test. That's not what they're trying to test, is how you think through scientific problems or scientific tables or scientific data. That's all they're testing, but not for you to really go deep into the data. So that's one thing to be aware of, because if you do that, most likely you won't be able to finish the test, because the test has 40 questions, 35 minutes, and 7 passages like this. And some are actually longer than this. So just remember that. So now when we look at it, we see 50 grams of NH4Cl. When I look at NH4Cl, as the temperature is increasing, what's happening to the concentration is also increasing. So that means that my 50 is going to be somewhere around here. It's going to be after 40, but before 60. So the best answer for that is going to be D. So pay attention to those type of little details and those techniques, that they're going to be helpful to you. So I know we have a few more minutes, but I think we have enough time to do one more example for Adeze, that she wanted us to do an additional example on converting an equation to the slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead and try one more, and then we'll do our last puzzle for the session. Why didn't you select it? I'm actually curious to know, why did you second guess yourself, or was there something in the table that led you to select a different response than what you had what you had in mind to select? So while you're answering, we're going to come up with another equation. So let's go with 6x minus 3y plus 7 equal to 0. We're going to write that in slope-intercept form. Just remember that a lot of these topics, if you go to our channel, you will see we have a SAT playlist that has a lot of SAT topics, and also has different ways to answer some old SAT exams. And I believe there should be one for ACT as well on our channel. And then all these topics, we have videos for them as well. And we break them down to make sure that you understand from the basics until we build up to where we think you need to be at the end of that video. So feel free to reach out and to our channel, and then watch some of those videos. They will help you. And if you've not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, so that when we have these sessions, you'll get notified. And so let me show you what to do here. So this is similar to the one that we did first on the SAT or ACT test. So what I'm going to do here is, I have 6x, I have 7, and I have negative 3y. Now, what I need to remember is that for me to move, if I move negative 3y out of here, it becomes positive on the other side. So I need to have it in y equal to mx plus b. So the simple thing to do is just to add 3y here, to add 3y. and then we have 6x plus 7 equal to 3y. So now I have a form that looks like this already. I don't have to do a lot of work, and then I can divide by 3, divide both sides by 3, and then I have 6x over 3 plus 7 over 3 equal to y. And so 6x divided by 3 is 2x plus 7 over 3 equal to y. And just for the standard way of writing the equation, we're going to just rewrite this as y equal to 2x plus 7 over 3. And that's going to give you the answer to your equation in slope-intercept form. So feel free to reach out if you need more examples. You know, we have, like I said earlier, we have playlists on algebra. This is an algebra 1 topic. So we have a playlist on algebra. We have also playlists on SAT. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to those resources. And then in our next sessions, you can also ask the questions that you may have. And don't forget that during the summer, we'll have an opportunity for you to be able to ask as many questions as you want that are tailored to your specific need. And then before we leave, I'm going to give you one more. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Adeze. Before we leave, I'm going to give you one more puzzle, and then we'll call it then before we end our session. So write an equation using the numbers below, or the below numbers, and mathematical symbols. Write an equation using the numbers below and also the mathematical symbols below. One thing I want you to know is that you can, well, everything you need is here. You don't actually need any external symbols or anything. These are the only things you need to get an answer. Any ideas? All you need to do is you need to add, and you need to add, and I'm going to give you a hint. You can actually have an exponent. You can actually have an exponent in your equation. You can actually use an exponent, or rather, let me say it this way: you're going to need an exponent in this one. Anybody have an idea? Okay. So let me show you what this is going to be. I know we're out of time. So this is going to be 4 plus 5 equal to 3 squared. So you can see here we have our 2, 3, 4, 5 plus and equal to U stop. So that's all that's all you have to do for this one. I wanted to select puzzles today because we're doing SAT, ACT that were more about logical reasoning and not really about doing a lot of addition and subtraction. So that's all we have for today. And I want to thank you for joining me today and for the hour that we spent together. And I hope that you have learned something. I hope you've enjoyed this session. I have enjoyed this session. I know today was a bit low on participation, but I understand that. And if there's any way that if there's any way that we can make these sessions more helpful to you, please drop us an email at info@mathis.com, or you can send us a text at 240-688-5447, or you can go on our website and you can send us some information through our contact page. So we'll welcome any kind of feedback that you have for us to make this better. We want to make sure that you as a student is getting the best out of this experience. And so thank you again for joining us. Sorry about the audio issues at the beginning, and look forward to hanging out with you next week, and enjoy a blessed weekend. And bye for now.